Auston Matthews is powering up with a pair of goals against the Predators. We'll recap the game and get an injury update on Jake McCabe, Max Domi, Hakanpää, and more. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. If anyone had a Auston Matthews anytime goal wager last night, that cash for you over on FanDuel as he powers the Maple Leafs to a third straight victory as they beat the Nashville Predators 3-2. David Morassutti was in the building, ladies and gentlemen. Didn't even go to overtime. I bet when I got to 3-2, you're like, oh no, here we go again.
A little bit, but I also wasn't with my buddy that I usually, when I go there, that's when it happens. So
okay. So he's the OT charm, not you. The other
yeah, I think it's got a bit of I think it needs to be the both of us to be there for that to happen. But yeah, it was getting dicey in those final few minutes. The Leafs weren't exactly. It wasn't that they were playing well. It's just that they couldn't get the puck out. And I'm like, just get the puck out. Fortunately, Nashville cleared the puck themselves a couple of times. That kind of helped. That kind of helped the Leafs, but. Yeah, no, it was a good competitive game, but there was some snoozing moments in that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think the second period, the Leafs didn't really have much there. There wasn't a lot going on in that one, but then, things came alive in the third, and they decided, all right, it's time to finally get some goals up on the board here, and Auston Matthews finally showed up. He scored a pair. They got a power play goal, too, against the league's #1 penalty kill. Beautiful feed from Matthew Nice to feed Nylander on the power play. An unbelievable play. The offense finally came alive. And we talked about it ahead of the game. We said it's a race to 3. Leafs scored 3 goals. That's a wrap. Like, the Preds can't score. And the 2 goals that they even got last night were so lucky. Like, that opening goal, it just a lucky goal. Like, ultimately, Joe Woll has no idea where the puck ends up banging off the boards. It ends up right beside him. And then, you get a guy going to the net, and he's just sitting there. Where's the puck? Where's the puck? Oh, it's in the back of my net already. Just a really bad luck kind of goal for him. Lost sight of it. And, the second one as well, just kind of a bit of a fluky one. So, it's like the Predators were able to, really move the puck around and get a lot of good pressure, I guess, on Toronto for that much and get many like high quality chances. But, Toronto, the goal was to get 3. And they got it. They got it done. And it was led by Auston Matthews, who I thought was the best player on the ice last night, specifically later in the game. He really decided to turn it on and said, all right, boys, get on my back. Let's ride to victory here. He's not 1, but 2 goals last night.
Yeah, and as soon as they put Matthews and Marner together,
yeah,
I saw it, and I'm like, oh, they're back together. 20 seconds later, it's in the net. I'm like, okay, that happened pretty quick. It happened very quickly.
Yes.
It just felt like watching that game, like for the first two periods, I'm like, Fraser Minten's been one of the better players in this game. And then it's just like the top 6 was playing 2Q. No one really wanted to
attack.
Yeah, no one really wanted to attack. Too many extra passes. And so I guess Craig Berube must have said something, and it just changed, right? It did start with that Matthews goal because, again, just the onslaught, 3 goals within the first 5 minutes.
Yeah,
and the game and you could tell Nashville had no response. They were it looked like a close game. It really wasn't a close game. They weren't really pressing the issue until it was too late for them, and And so, like, yeah, I'm curious to see how, if this is just, a one-time off that they do the Matthews Marner reuniting, or if they feel like they're going to have to consider that a little more going forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because we spent a lot of time talking about how it'd be nice if, they're able to kind of break them up. Not only would it be able to stretch out, lengthen this lineup a bit, but, Marner had been doing well by himself. He was doing great with John Tavares and Bobby McMahon, but with McMahon out, it's a little different now. That trio is not there, and it seems like it's missing a little something from that grouping. So it makes sense. Nothing was going on. Even Craig Berube said post game, I didn't feel like we were mustering up a whole lot offensively. So what do you got to lose? And I like that. That's what a good coach does when he notices something's not working and they need a spark. Well, how can you get it? Juggle up the lines a little bit. See if he can throw something different at that Nashville team. And he did. He put together his two best players on a line again, and boom, right away they get that chemistry going again. And then another one, beautiful walk by Auston Matthews, an absolutely gorgeous goal, one that like makes you shoot up from the couch and really like fist pump, like, let's go, he's back. Like, that's an Auston Matthews is back type of goal, right? Nice little power move to the net, and they almost scored again on a power move to the net,
like
a couple minutes later. Thing. Yeah. Like, I think after watching last night's game, maybe it took a couple of games for him to get his stride back and look like he's back into form. But I don't know. After last night, I thought he looked great. I think he looks just like, his superstar self again, or certainly did in the third period.
Yeah, I mean, that was the real change, right? Like, him and Marner finding him open. He was going to the net, right? Yeah. He just knew, I got to take this to the net. And, like, there were opportunities. Like, the Leafs were getting to the net. They just weren't converting on their chances. And then as soon as Matthews scored, it kind of just like relayed, just, you got to keep working, just keep pushing for it. And so they did that, and like they saw the benefit of doing that. So and a lot of people in the Discord were talking about it too. It just seems like whatever he was dealing with was kind of keeping him a bit, not even, I wouldn't say perimeter, but he wasn't pushing for those chances, right? He wasn't going to the net with conviction until the Chicago game, right? We saw that first goal and was like, okay, this looks to be the time now that he's gonna start pushing more for more opportunities like that. And it's good to see. That gives him now 9 goals on the year. So he's got a little making up to do, but this is what Austin, 3 goals in 2 games. Like, this is what he's capable of, right? It's not going to be long before he's shooting himself right back up.
100%. And that's why I thought it was hilarious when, you look at his odds to win the Rocket. I bet you they're super long. Like, I'll take a quick look at FanDuel. I would imagine he's not even the top 5 right now, but at the rate in which he can score and the multi-goal games too. Like, last year he had a bunch of multi-goal games. He hadn't had one until obviously last night. And for this guy, they seem to come in bunches too. I wouldn't shock me if, he scored 1 a couple games ago, got 2 last night. Could he get 2 again on Friday and then, get another? Like, he could end up with, 15, 16 goals, maybe 17 goals by Christmas at the rate that he's going right now, based on, the way that this guy can score. But right now, I'm just going to quickly look it up and see in the Rocket Richard trophy rankings, he is. So they're still actually giving him some respect. He's 4th right now behind Draisaitl, Sam Hart, and Kaprizov. They've got him 4th at plus 1,100. So 11-1 to win the Rocket Richard. And it might be a good time to bet it, because if he continues to go, I mean, that's probably a line that's going to shorten significantly. He has another 2-goal performance this weekend. Potts another goal or 2. That line's going to start to shrink. So, Matthews, although he missed some time, still an opportunity because he's so damn good to win a Rocket. Just goes to prove how good he is when he's on his A game. And last night felt like it for many stretches. There's a couple shifts early on, not a whole lot, but certainly in the third period, he turned it on for sure once him and Mitch Marner got going. All right, we'll continue to tee up or wrap up the game with the 3 stars on the other end, get some final notes from the game, and then we got a lot of news coming out of practice too, some injury updates, and the Four Nations rosters officially set. 1 Maple Leaf surprised me, who made the roster. We'll tell you who that is coming up next here on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NHL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NHL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets, and if you win your first $5 bet, that's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the Locked On Network. The Locked On Leafs podcast continues with Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti. We've got new episodes coming out to you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, available wherever you get a podcast and also up on YouTube. We're reacting to a Maple Leafs 3-2 win over the Nashville Predators. That's now 3 wins in a row for the Buds, heading into a weekend back-to-back this upcoming Friday, Saturday. So, it's in November. Not a lot of hockey was played in the back half of November, but the first 21 days of December, it's 11 games in 21 days. It's coming at you. We've got a couple of back-to-backs in the next couple of weeks, back-to-back weekends, actually, of back-to-back games. So lots of hockey, lots of Maple Leafs hockey to be talking about. And we'll quickly put a bow on last night's Leafs victory over the Predators. 3-2 was your final, and we do this after each and every victory. It's the 3 stars of the game. Dave, who was your first star?
Auston Matthews.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 2 goals in this game, and doing some good things defensively too. Played a lot in that final few minutes of the game. It was almost like every other shift he was out there, and I thought he was going to score a hat trick. I thought it was like the only thing that was missing from that performance, because he really turned it on in that third period. And they needed it. They needed someone to step up, and he certainly did that.
4 blocks last night for Auston Matthews. 4 block shots. So, really doing it on both sides of the ice. You love to see it. A couple of goals, 7 shots, 4 blocks in 20 minutes and 11 seconds of ice time. So Auston Matthews definitely doing his part. He was my first star of the game as well. My second star of the game, I gave to his eventual line mate in Mitch Marner. Thought that he was doing a lot of good things, allowing Auston Matthews to kind of develop those plays. He usually started it off, and you look at the second one where he walked the guy. Well, that's a really nice move by Marner to come in and push the defense a little bit when he brings it in over the line. Quick low drop pass, and that allows Matthews to get a little one-on-one on the defender. And Matthews does Matthews things at that point, beats Saros between the legs, and that was really when the Leafs took control of the game. But Marner, again, doing it on all sides of the puck, defensively, offensively, on the penalty kill. So Mitch Marner, they get 3 helpers. He assisted on all 3 goals last night too. So he was my second star of the game.
He was mine too. I did appreciate that there was one point in the game where Joseph Woll got a little bit of the business from a Predators player, and Mitch is usually not one to get into it and try to mix it up. But he was right in there. Obviously, Matthew Nyes was there to back him up too. So that helped the situation.
Love Nyes, man. Love Nyes.
I wanted to give him a star, but there were some other players I wanted to know too. But he's, again, continues to be solid. I was concerned too that I think he took a shot or he took a hit or something, and he was limping a bit. And I'm like, no. We're not doing this again, Matthews. You're fine. Shake it off. And he did stay in the game, thankfully. But yeah, it's Marner. It was nice to see him. It was funny because someone was like, "Drop the gloves, Mitch." And I'm like, "That's not gonna happen."
No, that we don't need Mitch fighting. That's not what we need him to be doing. He's already, kind of pushing the limit, I guess. Like some people would say, your star players push the limit on the PK. Blocking shots is a little bit. And he had a couple blocks last night too, if I recall. And even that's somewhat pushing the limit. Don't need him don't need him throwing the fisticuffs. But with those 3 points last night, that bolted him up to 5th in the NHL in points. He's just 3 behind the leader or leaders of Kaprizov, Nakash, and McKinnon, who have 39, Jack Eichel 38. And there's Mitch Marner all alone, 5th in the NHL with 36 points. So, man, Marner's having a hell of a year, and it's going to be an interesting conversation anytime we bring up Mitch Marner and we talk contracts, because he's having a platform year, a platform season for sure. And it'll be interesting to see how it all kind of unfolds here for the Maple Leafs. Are they going to wait until the playoffs and see what happens there? Do they get a little antsy and try and get a deal done around the holidays, perhaps? I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but he's making a whole lot of money for himself in the last month or so. He's been playing some elite hockey. Third star of the game, Dave, who'd you give it to?
I gave it to Joseph Woll.
Yeah, there we go. 3 for 3.
Early on in the game, they were struggling really to get a lot of production. Nashville was throwing everything and anything at the net, which at first I was like, I don't know if this is really like something the Nashville should be doing.
And they scored.
But yeah, and then they scored. But he was making some tough saves. They were in his kitchen. They were trying to knock him off his game, right? Get a little physical. And he was not. It didn't phase him. It didn't phase him one bit. And that to me was, again, continues to be an impressive part of Wolves, that even though he's always got a bit of those, you could get concerned when he gets bumped a little bit. That hasn't been an issue for him. So just another quality start. I think 5-game winning streak. That makes it 2 in his career. I think I heard on the broadcast only it's not very common for a Leafs goaltender to go on a run like this, to win 5 in a row.
No.
So
did Jack Campbell do it at one point? I know he had that home winning streak record.
Yeah.
That I think he broke, actually. But I can't remember if it was like consecutive games or not. But yeah, I mean, Joseph Woll, man, like he just continues to go out there and impress. He's mid-season form right now. And even like we talked about earlier, like the couple of goals that were scored, like were kind of just bad bounces, just kind of unfortunate, especially the first one. I mean, he literally goes off the boards. He has no idea where the heck the puck is, lands right beside him, and he could just get stuffed into the net just like that. And that was my best bet, was Maple Leafs to score the first goal of the game. And it's such a tough one when you take it on the chin like that. Like literally 6 minutes into the game, the other team scores first. Like, well, there goes my parlay. That's it. My ticket's dead. But outside of that, like he was good, right? Like Joseph Woll was really, really good last night. And then he has been for a while. And yeah, he was my third star as well for the Maple Leafs. Okay. On the other side, Dave, lots of news and notes from practice. Jake McCabe didn't end up playing last night after initially it felt like he was going to. There's an update on whether or not he'll play this weekend, and a couple updates on the other injured Maple Leafs. We'll get to all of that and more next here on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you, as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, free and available wherever you can get a podcast, and also up on YouTube. All right, the Maple Leafs with a 3-2 win over the Nashville Predators last night, and they got practice today. It was like an off day type of skate today. It wasn't optional because I didn't see any lines or anything like that get posted.
I didn't see anything.
Yeah,
just like meetings, like over video or something.
Yeah, a little video day for the Buds, because like we said, there's a lot of hockey being played over the course of the next few weeks here. Might as well keep them off their feet as much as possible. So no practice today per se, but we did get a chance to get an update from the coach on some situations regarding health of some players. And the one that I think we're all mainly keen on is Jake McCabe, who has now missed 2 games here with a head injury, and we're not exactly sure what the situation is. He's considered day-to-day right now, and apparently he might also and is expected to miss the game against Washington as well. So that'll be 3 games in a row for something that Jake McCabe yesterday, prior to playing in the game, if I'm not mistaken, came out and said he felt fine and felt good, and he portrayed as though he planned on playing in that game against Nashville. And I guess things have not really progressed for him. Still feeling a little something, and now won't even play against Washington. Like, is it now getting concerning? It's 3 straight games for Jake McCabe. I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. He said that he felt fine after practice on Tuesday, but then apparently the next day he said that it wasn't actually feeling great. So the Leafs are just like, okay, let's like figure out what exactly is going on. So again, a lot of it might seem precautionary, but at the same time, it's just like, if he's
3 games, 3 games doesn't feel precautionary. 1 game does, 2 games, you're really pushing it. 3 games, there's something going on.
And it's like the guy took a shot off the side of the head. It would have been fine if they said, you know what, we're going to give him a few games just to make sure he's fine. But when Berube had come out and said, we don't think this is going to be something that's going to keep him out, and now he's, as you said, on his way to potentially miss his 3rd straight game, that's where you get those questions. If they had just said, you know what, we're going to give him a couple games just to make sure he's okay, we're not having this conversation right now.
Yeah, probably. And that's been the issue literally all season when it comes to the Maple Leafs. Like, we have no idea what's going on with these injuries, and they try to make it come across as not serious. And the next thing you know, the guy's on injured reserve, or the guy's on LTIR. Like, randomly, David Camp ends up on LTIR. It's like, what? I don't even know what the hell happened to the guy. He just got hurt all of a sudden. Like even the Calle Yarncroc thing. Like, I remember breaking at a camp, and it wasn't really known what was going on with Yarncroc, but Craig Berube was like, yeah, he won't be with us today, and we'll kind of see how he feels going forward. The guy still hasn't played. We're into December, Dave, into December. Like, that's just the way that the Leafs have been all year long. Auston Matthews went from, okay, he's going to miss a day. All right, he's going to miss 2 games. Okay, he hasn't skated in a week. He's being placed on IR, and now he's in Germany for the rest of the week. It's like, there's just absolutely no transparency when it comes to Maple Leafs injuries. It really just grinds my gears, man. And even like Pacioretty and Domi, like, so Pacioretty and Domi, they're out there skating yesterday, and there's no timeline on their return. I don't believe Pacioretty is eligible to return yet anyways. I think later this week, I think he's eligible, maybe this weekend, the 7th maybe, possibly is the day where he can come back. Domi's good to return at any point. But again, we have no idea if they're close, what the situation is, if they plan on coming back soon, or are they just skating so they can keep their legs underneath them. No clue what's going on there.
I don't even think we got an injury designation for Max Domi.
No.
We didn't get not even the upper body, lower body BS we always get. With Pacioretty, we knew lower body. Like, I don't remember seeing anything for that for Max. Like, this is where the NHL is very fortunate. It's not like the NFL, where the NFL, and even the NBA, because the NBA does the two. The NBA does an injury report, and it specifically lists if it's personal, it's personal. If it's a load management thing, it'll be like knee management or something like that.
Looks like it is a lower body injury for Max Domi. Again, I don't know if it was announced at the time, or so I'm just reading today's article. David Alter just put out a piece about updating the injuries on the Hockey News, and he just has Domi lower body injury. So I don't know if he just found that out later on or if that was announced at the time. But yeah, it's a lower body injury for Domi, but still, like, we have no idea what that can mean. Anything. Ankle, knee, hip, like, what is it? Groin? No clue.
Yeah, that's what I understand. You try to not be too oversharing on injuries, as Auston Matthews had mentioned the other day, but give us some semblance of maybe, like, it's just like he's close. Close means to me, next game you're probably going to see him play. Close doesn't mean maybe in
monitor for 2 weeks. Games. No, exactly. Like, it's insane what's going on with these guys. And even like Hakanpää, we had no idea what the hell was going on with Hakanpää.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this guy, He finally got elevated, activated, played 2 games, and then was sitting out. And then all of a sudden, we thought maybe he was sitting out because Timmins, was the better option. Maybe they preferred Timmins, whatever the reason may have been. And then all of a sudden, Hakanpää lands on IR. And we're like, whoa, when did this happen? When did Hakanpää get hurt? And thinking to ourselves, maybe it was just like a paper move because they needed to add a player. And then all of a sudden, news comes out today, Jani Hakanpää undergoes some sort of knee procedure and will be out for a little bit. What? Like, what are we?
I wonder if Finland's gone. What?
They had to have known. They had to have known.
They have known. But it's just like, what is, like, again, we don't need to know everything. I get it. But you need to be somewhat better with your messaging. I think this is Craig Berube. Again, it's the way he presents it. If that's the way he wants to do it, that's fine. But you're going to get so many more questions when stuff like this happens, unfortunately.
Oh, 100%. 100%. But I don't know. I doubt we're ever going to get that level of transparency. At least with Babcock, he'd be like, yeah, he's got a knee. Yeah, he's dealing with a groin. Like, he would at least tell you what was up. Like, yeah, he's got a knee. Thanks. We all have knees, but at least you understood what the hell the problem was. Now that's not what happens at all. One thing that has come out of all of these injuries, Dave, I guess, we can finish with a quick conversation about this because I want to hear your thoughts on it. Fraser Minten has been given an opportunity to show what he could do, and he's played 6 games now for the Maple Leafs, and he's done pretty well. He's got 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points in those games, so he's factoring in offensively a little bit. He's showing that he's got a little bit of offensive skill to him, but he's also done a pretty good job defensively and just competing, right? Like, that's what we want to see the compete level be there at the very least. And Craig Berube was asked if he would like to see Minten stick around because, as these players get healthy, guys are going to have to start going down, whether it's, Steves, Grabankin, Nylander, Minten, one of those guys are going to have to start, filtering their way back to the Marlies. And Berube said, if he can help us win, I want him here. Pretty flat out is what he said. And Dave, I just want to get your thoughts. Like, we've seen now 6 games, still small, relatively small sample size, but what have you made of Minten's play? Do you think he's shown enough in this 6-game sample size to, earn himself maybe a roster spot with the club for a little bit longer?
I think, again, 6 games is tough to really gauge, but what I'm liking right now, he deserves an extended look. Like, if we're talking about players to be sent down, he's not even top 3 on my list right now because he's got such a nose for the net in the offensive zone. He's got such a mature game. And I was reading what Mark Masters tweeted from Berube. He was back, there was no practice today, but he was back on the ice for extra work. And the Leafs coach compared his work ethic to John Tavares. Now, if you remember, who took Fraser Minten under his wing when he first arrived in Toronto?
John Tavares.
Yeah. So, it's what that means to me, what that shows me is this is a coachable player. It's a player that gets it. He understands that he's, had to work a little bit harder because, he's not the most skilled player, right? He's not the high-end skill player. But the Leafs don't need that from him. They need this. They need the workhorse. They need
a
guy that's going to, right? Smart play. And who's a better option for third line center right now?
Right now, there isn't one, honestly. Even the conversation, I guess, comes now because with Max Domi's impending return, it's okay. Does he return to 3C, a role in which he was playing when he got injured? Or, do you keep Minten around and maybe move Domi to the wing? And I guess that's the conversation. And for me, I think you keep Minten around. I don't think this conversation really needs to pop up until David Kampf comes back. Once Kampf returns, maybe at that point you have that discussion. And unfortunately, it's not even about a skill set situation or a roster spot, but you're going to get into a cap crunch too, where, you may not be able to keep Minten because you've got all of these other players on the roster. And they're variable, but they're also going to have pieces of their contract still be on the Maple Leafs, and it may not allow you to carry a full 23-man roster. And maybe Minten is a guy who who is not able to be among those guys. So it also becomes a money thing at some point too, which is unfortunate. You absolutely hate that that's part of the conversation, but unfortunately it is. So unless there's a trade or a move of some kind, that does kind of get a little difficult, which sucks. But when it comes to pure play, I think Minten for sure, to me at least, should be the 3C over Max Domi and get an extended look. And then we can have this conversation again, maybe when David Kampf comes back into the fold. That's how I see this situation and how it should unfold over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, for me right now, I don't mind if they want to send Gurbankin back. I know he's had some good moments, but I feel like he would benefit more from playing top line minutes with the Marlies.
Alex Nylander.
Like there's so many other players. And Minton's not making a lot of money. So even cap wise, I don't think it's necessary.
He's not, but you can send the whole thing down. Whereas if you send down, Camp, you're only able to bury was a 1.15. So you still have over $1 million of dead cap. You have to add on top of that.
It feels like Berube still likes what he sees from Camp. He was very complimentary of Camp before he got hurt.
So Reeves though, Reeves, you're still gonna have I think 150,000 is still gonna be on the books when you send that down.
He had only he to me watching him, I'm just what's he doing? What are we doing here?
It doesn't, man. Honestly, he checks in last night, but it's dude, Gurbankin honestly gives you more. Gurbankin gives you more. I would rather have him as my fourth line right winger all day long over Ryan Reeves.
The only thing I'll say to that, Gurbankin is feisty, but he can be physically outmatched. We saw that when Luke Shen absolutely buried him. It happened in the corner I was sitting in, and I'm just Luke, be kind, man. That was rude. But
that's fair.
I miss Luke. That was just a callback to Luke Shen, because that man throws down some heavy hits.
He'd be a nice third pair D man on this team. That'd be a nice pickup.
Third pair, and if you need a guy to play with Riley, if another injury happens, you got him to do that too.
Yeah. That should be something that maybe the Leafs look into at some point again here if they look to build, especially if this Hakanpää injury. It was a procedure to the knee that that scared a lot of teams off in free agency. The fact that it needed a procedure is obviously not good. And you've already traded away Timothy Liljegren, who has 3 goals since being traded away, which we kind of expected was going to happen, I guess, if given opportunities, playing 20-something minutes a night, top power play time. He's being given every opportunity to succeed, obviously, and he's running away with it, so good on him. Wasn't going to happen here in Toronto, but that was just depth that was taken away, and now it's okay, Philip Myers, he's played decent. He's okay, I guess as a seventh defenseman, but if you could get a guy like Luke Shen, a little bit more of an upgrade, a little bit more P&D, I think that'd be a solid addition as well if it gets to that point. Really quickly, actually, speaking of Yanni Hakanpää, we kind of alluded to it earlier, but the Four Nations tournament, Four Nations Face-Off, I guess is technically what it's being called. They announced all of their rosters yesterday. We had talked about it prior because the day before, basically, the rosters got leaked and we knew exactly who was going to be on Team Canada and pretty well Team USA. We were a little uncertain about Sweden and Finland, but now we have the full rosters. It turns out that we have 4 Maple Leafs who will be taking part in the Four Nations Face-Off, 1 Leaf per team. So there's always going to be 2 Maple Leafs taking on each other. They'll be playing in each and every game. So the Leafs that did make the initial rosters are Auston Matthews for Team USA, Mitch Marner for Team Canada, William Nylander for Team Sweden, and the one that kind of surprised me a little bit, Yanni Hakanpää got invited by Team Finland. So as of now, Hakanpää is on Team Finland. Now, this knee injury maybe throws a little bit of a wrinkle into that. Whether or not he'll be healthy enough and get back in time to play for Finland, I suppose, is a different story. But that was a name that I did not expect to see, just based on the fact that he's played 2 games this year. and 2 games in the last, 8 months. It was kind of jarring to see his name pop up on one of these rosters.
Yeah, I did not expect that. Not at all. And I'm kind of like looking at Finland's blue line. I'm like, it's not very good. Like,
Not good. Yeah, they're more of a forward group.
Yeah, they're very forward heavy goaltending too. Obviously, that's been their bread and butter. But yeah, I was very surprised to see Yadni Hakanpää there. But hey, you got a Leaf on every team right now, so it's some nice representation there. Some teams only got like one guy, right? Like something before, like the Washington Capitals. Funny enough, I thought maybe there was a chance one of them could make Canada.
No,
none of them did.
Did that whole team get snubbed? Or John Carlson?
I think John Carlson got snubbed too from USA.
Yeah. So not a single player from one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, the best team in the Eastern Conference, actually. Not a single player makes it. That's kind of hilarious. Actually,
well, actually,
unless was there someone on like Sweden or Finland, maybe.
No, I don't think so. I didn't see anyone, and so I even wrote for sports, and I wrote I put a roster together like the B squad for Canada.
Yeah, pretty good.
Put a couple of Washington guys on there.
Yeah, I think
Dylan Strome is 10th in the league in scoring and couldn't make Canada.
I know. You got McMichael on there too?
No, I put Tom Wilson.
Tommy Wilson. Okay, that makes sense.
McMichael was on my funny enough. McMichael was on my honorable mention, so the snub of the snub list.
Yeah, he was a snub from the snub list. Yeah, he was on your C team. If we continue to go down that far, that's funny,
man. You could put a C team together with the goaltending is where it gets a little dicey. But
who did you have? I
had Logan Thompson. Thompson, and I put Skinner.
Yeah. Okay.
I think if you put him away from the Oilers, I think Skinner's shown that he can be better than what we've seen this year. But Cam Talbot would have been my next guy.
Or Flower. Could have done
Flowers
Flower,
on I got Flower there.
Yeah, you had Flower. Nice. Okay, good. Yeah, a little legacy play there. Speaking of snubs, I quickly just want to ask you this one before we get out of here today. The two, I guess you can consider Maple Leaf snubs. Well, I guess 3. I guess Tavares could be a bit of a snub from Canada. But after looking at the rosters, Chris Tanev kind of seems like a bit of a snub at this point for Team Canada. I didn't really look at him as a player who would make Canada all that well. I didn't think he had a great chance. But then when I saw Parayko and Sanheim did make it, I thought to myself, if that's the type of player, the role player that they're looking for, a penalty killing shot blocker, how come Tanev didn't get more consideration? I think at that point, Tanev is a snub in comparison to a Parayko or Sanheim. And I would even kind of put OEL as a bit of a snub too, who didn't make Team Sweden.
Yeah, I think if you look at why Sanheim made the team, I think Tanev would have been the better choice, and a right shot defenseman. You've got, they have 4 left. When I was putting in my B team, you lose a bit of it because they have 4 left shots on the blue lines. Why didn't you take the extra right shot guy? Usually, right shot guys are a little more coveted, and Tanev I think is the better defender. Between him and Sanheim.
Yeah,
I think they like the size. Maybe if even Tanev still got big size and he plays big too. So I don't know. That was a strange one for that. And there's just so many good defensemen. I forgot even Mackenzie Weegar and Aaron Ekblad when they were in Florida together, how good that pairing was.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, they were.
It's just so tough. It is a tough job. I'll admit there's a lot of options, but it's there's enough justifications why for the players that did make it, for other guys to be in the positions that they're in.
I would love for you to take a stab at this number because it's actually kind of a staggering number. How many hits do you think Chris Tanev has this year through 25 games?
25 games?
Yeah.
Maybe 11 hits.
5. He only has 5 hits this season, which is crazy. 77 blocks, which is number 2 in the
That's his
league, I believe.
physicality right there. Like that's Chris Tanev being physical is
Yes.
blocking shots.
He's
not
just long, rangy. Like that's his type. He's not going to obliterate you, but he can play you hard and take pucks off of you.
Yeah.
And he's more of a stick checker than an actual checker. But yeah, that was kind of a surprising stat to see for like a stay-at-home defensive defenseman who kills plays and has been as effective as he's been, as much impact as he's had on this blue line, but only 5 hits, which is funny because when you think about like Craig Berube, you're like, oh, big, strong, mean defenseman need these trees to go out there and be murdering guys on the blue line. Tanev doesn't do that, but he's certainly proving that you don't have to be effective and to play, a style of hockey that wins games. And Tanev's done just that, and I think he could have done that for Team Canada as well. Kind of at this point, after seeing the final roster, feels like a snub to me because I think he would have been a better role player for those roles that those other guys were selected for. But hey, I'm not Doug Armstrong. I'm not picking these teams, so nothing that we can do about it. All right, buddy. We'll get out of here. Tomorrow's show, we're gonna preview the game against Washington. Should be a fun one. Back to back this weekend. So Friday, Washington, and then is it Pittsburgh on Saturday? Is that who they've got Saturday? So
Washington, Pittsburgh, back to back.
Yeah. So no Ovi though, eh? Would have been fun. You have
dude skating though. 17 days after surgery, he is skating.
He is skating, which is impressive, but I still don't think we see him until after Christmas.
No, I don't. They're gonna be patient with him. Dude's a little older. Let him have the extra time to recover.
Yeah, exactly. So you won't be in this game tomorrow, but they still got plenty of other guys who are having some terrific seasons. So we'll get into all of that and more tomorrow, but that does it for us here today. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.